Welcome into Morning JOX. Conrad Van Order, Damian Mitchell with you here on a very rainy Thursday morning. Make sure when you're headed out to work, headed out to school this morning, just stay weather aware because
Please do.
it's raining out there, man.
It's coming on down.
Yeah, we had heard that the tropical storm was going to work its way up here. Maybe make it a little wet this weekend, and it has officially started. So yeah, the next couple days is going to be full of rain. So be weather aware when you're out and about, and be safe. But I will say it does feel nice outside.
Yeah, I will say that we're definitely in fall weather. It's slick. It's a little slicker than normal to start your morning off. So please be careful and check up on your people, especially down in I guess you would say like the Louisiana, Mississippi, lower parts of the states down there because it's getting a little active. It's getting a little active, but we are safe and we are sound here at JOX 94.5. It's week 3 of the college football season. We get it started tonight, actually. I mean, we got NFL games going on tonight. You get to see your boy Tua in action, Conrad. Hopefully he can continue his performance in fantasy football as well because we gotta erase what happened last week, but in a couple leagues. I'm in 8 of them, so.
Leading the league in passing yards.
We'll take it.
Yet again. It's only one game, but
Yeah.
still counts.
And also, I mean, it's the Buffalo Bills. So now we get to see now if Josh Allen is legit. I mean, I'm not going to disrespect the Cardinals last week, but it's not like we have them, competing out there in the NFC West. But now the AFC East division, you got Tua, you got Josh Allen, and the biggest question mark was after Stephon Diggs left, who is Josh Allen going to throw it to? That's the ideal question, I guess you would ask. And I guess we'll see tonight. Hopefully no skirmishes or anything with Tyreek Hill getting into the facilities and everything tonight. So
I don't know. They might actually want that. I mean, he was it's like a bat out of hell after that happened last week, and he ended up having a pretty good day, all things considered.
Yeah, I guess hindsight's 2020. It's one of those things that now we're in the thick of it. Now we know exactly what our palette is going to look like week in and week out, from Thursday all the way to Saturday. And when you look at these matchups on Saturday, of course, UAB goes to Arkansas. Auburn welcomes New Mexico. Alabama takes the trip up to Madison, Wisconsin to take on the Wisconsin Badgers. And I think when you look at the slate this week and the closer we get, how much of a sample size do we have of these teams to truly differentiate where they are? Like we look at LSU when they played against USC. Is it more of a question mark of, is USC really legit? Or is LSU still got some kinks to work out? Then they beat up on Nichols. Now, Garrett Nussmeier, you were very high on him over the offseason of, we could look at him as being one of the leading passers in the SEC. And the way that LSU is kind of designed, the way their offense is looking, they're living and dying whatever Garrett Nussmeier does. Because to me, they're in a similar boat with Auburn. It's almost they're choosing not to run the ball when they know they can.
Yeah, at least in LSU's case, I will give them the fact that, and I mean, you can kind of, I guess, blame Brian Kelly or the staff if you want for not maybe ensuring they have enough depth, but, losing John Emery at running back after that first game, because he looked good in that first game. Granted, like you're saying, the run game wasn't maybe what was being emphasized the most in that first game. And that might have helped you out in the time of possession game and kind of controlling the game there, especially at the end. But yeah, I mean, I think we all kind of knew it was going to be live and die by Garrett Nussmeier. It was just going to be where are you going to get the yards on the ground? Because again, last year you didn't need to have a great running back, right? You didn't need a great running game because you had over 1,000 yards on the ground from your quarterback. And so now that you don't have that, they're a little more one-dimensional at the quarterback position. But, through 2 games, I still think, the offense has looked pretty good. Garrett Nussmeier's looked good. I mean, he played well in that USC game. It just ultimately wasn't enough at the end. But, yeah, I think LSU's kind of similar to what they were last year. They're a little bit of a, if they can outscore you, great. But they're going to give up their points where they do. And, that's going to cost them a couple games along the way probably. But, I've been impressed with him through the first couple of games. But again, right, it's Nichols. So you don't really know how much you can take away. But at least after this week, a lot of these teams will have played at least one Power 4 opponent. And so you have a better idea of how that stacks up. But I think we also all know that once you get into SEC play, it's different, and that's when you really start to have an idea of who some of these teams are, right? Because for Alabama, for example, you can go up to Wisconsin and let's say they win comfortably on the road. You know, how much does that tell you about Alabama versus how much does that tell you about Wisconsin just still hasn't really come along? Now, granted, if Alabama struggles, um, then maybe we have learned something about Alabama. If they have more penalties, if they continue turning the ball over, maybe that's just kind of who they're going to be this year. Um, but I think there's a lot of games coming up, whether it's, you have Auburn, Oklahoma, Auburn, Arkansas, I think will tell us a lot. But of course, Alabama and Georgia and some of these bigger, interconference games, that's really when you're going to be able to say, okay, this is where this team really stands right now.
Games. We had two conference games dealing with two opponents. Of course, we just talked about LSU and South Carolina. How different does South Carolina look after that, trip up to Lexington where they handled their business? So I think that game has gotten a little bit more intrigue at 11 o'clock there from Columbia. LSU only a 7-point favorite on the road. But how about a matchup that for the past couple years, we've almost tried to convince ourselves it will be a game, but Georgia and Kentucky. Now, we left with a major question mark about Kentucky after what happened against South Carolina, and now Georgia comes into town. Do we see the Kentucky that digs deep and makes it a ball game late in the fourth quarter, or are you under the impression that Georgia's one of the best team, if not the best team in college football, and it doesn't look like Kentucky's going to stop that? Yeah, it's on the road and things like that, but right now, Georgia's a 24-point favorite in Lexington. And a lot of it could be based off what you just saw with Kentucky and the way that Kentucky wants to be both offensively and defensively. At some point, I've been kind of, ready to have this conversation whenever anybody is welcome to it, is Mark Stoops. It's okay with the expansion and the realignment of the SEC. Kentucky kind of falls further back in the middle of the pack. And you can't afford those games like South Carolina last week and expect to feel confident about the rest of the schedule and the way it lays out for the Kentucky Wildcats. Maybe the Brock Vandagriff experiment just ain't it. And he only completed 3 passes the entire game?
I believe he was 3 of 10 for 30 yards.
That ain't gonna get it done. And it's only going to magnify and amplify because you're playing Georgia. And I mean, from what we've seen the first 2 games with Georgia, it started off a little slow to start the season off in the first half against Clemson. And then the second half, you realize, okay, so one of these coaches has made halftime adjustments. Then Tennessee Tech, it's Tennessee Tech. But now you're back into the SEC play, you're back in the conference play, you're taking on Kentucky. And realistically, do you think Georgia covers this 24-point spread?
Yeah, my gut is yes, because I don't think South Carolina's that good. And based on all we know is what we just saw. And they just seem so limited offensively in what they can do because, let's go back to last year, right? Going into this game. I can't remember who they played the week before, but Ray Davis ran for 200 and something yards the week before the Georgia game. And so you saw something offensively from Kentucky last year where you went, okay, now if that guy has a day, this could be kind of interesting. He did not have a day, and it did not work out that way. But there you had pieces offensively and things that you had seen from that team early in the year that made you go, okay, if they play their best game, the best game that they've played in their entire lives collectively, they might have a shot. And I just don't think it's the same. I mean, maybe there's something inside of Brock Vandagriff that there's just that revenge factor, going up against your former school, and it just lights a fire in him. But I mean, when South Carolina is making you look like you never played the quarterback position before, I really just don't think that going up against Georgia, even though it's a lot of your former teammates and guys that you're familiar with, I just don't think that's going to be super pretty for Kentucky. And I think it could get sideways and embarrassing pretty quickly, and it should, to be completely honest, based on what we've seen from Georgia. Man, I don't know. I understand why there's reason for optimism for Kentucky because there were a lot of unknowns, but I think through 2 weeks, it's just clear that maybe this is. I mean, when you're having to bench your starting quarterback against South Carolina in week 2,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
not it. That's not it. And there was there's a clip that's been going around from, I guess it was Mark Stoops' radio show earlier this week, where somebody called in and was asking him about the offense, and you could just tell in his answer where he was talking about the South Carolina game, and he essentially said, well, they came out in one defense and we were ready for it. And then after like the first 2 drives of the game, they changed their defense and we didn't adjust. We couldn't adjust.
Mm.
How could you not adjust? How can you not like he's openly acknowledging, yeah, we couldn't make an in-game adjustment against South Carolina. So how's that going to go against probably the best team in the entire country? I think it's going to be ugly, man.
Right. And Kirby doesn't he I don't know.
But we
Kirby will
talk
keep
ourselves into this game every year.
every single year.
Every year. Oh, this is going to be the year. They might make it interesting.
Remember the Will Levis year when they were going in there with what one loss, I think? Like one loss at the time, and then you look at that game, it's like, wait a minute. Well, there's a difference between
Oh, we
an
were going
undefeated.
down the scenarios of, Kentucky could find themselves in Atlanta, and we're stupid sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes you don't need to overthink it. 205-834-9450. Take a look at the national landscape of games on the college football slate. Who should be on upset alert this weekend? Hey, you might have to say the Oregon Ducks for the past 2 weeks because they haven't looked as pretty. Now they get the Civil War with Oregon State. Should be interesting to see. So who should be on upset alert? We want to hear from you. We'll give you our answers as well. 205-834-9450. You can text or call in. Keep it locked right here on Morning JOX and JOX 94.5. 6:16 here on Morning JOX, JOX 94.5, Damian Mitchell, Conrad Van Order, and you as well, 205-834-9450. Your text and calls are always welcome all day long here on our host of shows on JOX 94.5. You can also find us on YouTube, of course, JOX 94.5 TV. You can find us there live and in person. I'm not rocking any college teams today. I'm rocking the home team, Birmingham Stallions. Giddy up.
That's nice of you.
Thank you. You know, I can't beat the
that one won't ruffle any feathers this morning, so that's
it shouldn't.
That's good.
It shouldn't. Hopefully no Battlehawks fans are around here.
I think we're good.
Shouldn't be.
I think we're in the clear.
Now, as we look at the college football landscape and just look at the teams that are going to be performing this weekend, I also forgot another SEC matchup and two teams that are in kind of the similar situation because of their week one performance, and they, knock off two teams of, lesser competition in week two. That's Florida and Texas A&M. That game at 2:30 there in the Swamp. And Texas A&M right now is a 3.5-point favorite, but I'm almost trying to convince myself before we get to the month of November that Billy Napier can still keep his job. Like, I have this gut feeling that I'm not going to say he kind of finds a way, but there's going to be wins that if he's going to have at Florida this season that are probably going to say, all right, at some point we either have to make the decision or we're going to let this thing ride out, because one, the month of November is just going to be absolutely brutal. But how different now if he makes it there? How much different does a Florida State win have on his resume? If he gets Texas A&M this weekend, everything's kind of aligned in your favor because you're at home. I guess you have two starting quarterbacks at your disposal, and the pieces around them, they are starting to, when they gel well, they look good. It's just how can we separate what happened against Miami and what they showed against Sanford and try to make it justifiable of what they could possibly put on the field against Texas A&M?
I will say, so, I feel like, take everything with a grain of salt, but from what we saw last week, at least from both Florida and Texas A&M, it is going to be a question of, okay, are you more like the team that, in Texas A&M's case, more the team that we saw against McNeese, or more the team we saw against Notre Dame? And then it's the same thing for Florida. Are you more like Miami or the Sanford game? And you go and you look at what these teams did last week, and I'm just saying this, Connor Wigman had 115 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Granted, he didn't have to go out there and have a monster game. I mean, they won 52-10. Oh, excuse me. He had 125 passing yards. But he was 11 of 14 for 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. DJ Lagway threw for over 400 yards last week and 3 or 4 touchdowns. And so, again, I'm not saying that's going to be a direct translation of what happens this Saturday, but that's my big thing for Texas A&M now, right? Is we thought, all right, you have your quarterback. He's finally healthy. Wigman looked good last year when he played. Like, it looked like, okay, you finally have the guy in place at quarterback that you need to be successful. And now there's something this year where he just looks he looks out of sorts at times, and he just hasn't been the same through the first 2 weeks. And so, going into this game, if you're getting that version of Connor Wigman, I'm just not super confident that that's going to get the job done for Texas A&M in a lot of games this year. But then for Florida, it's okay. So is DJ Lagway definitely the guy, like, still right now? And then Graham Mertz is just like a week-by-week thing? Or is Graham Mertz starting on Saturday? And then, if the offense isn't great, you're going to pull him? Like, I just feel like both of these teams are in such a rough spot. And this is, honestly a big win for either of them, because it kind of looks like wins could be at a premium for both of these teams now, just with how they've looked through the first 2 weeks of the season so far. And yeah, this is one of those games that it could be fun to watch, just kind of as a, kind of in a like so bad it's good kind of way, or it could just be really, really ugly and we could watch two teams struggle and it doesn't look like anybody wants to win on Saturday.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. It's kind of that fine line of who do you think gets to start for Florida on Saturday? It's because Graham Mertz hasn't it's the same way Drew Bledsoe, Tom Brady situation. He didn't do awful.
No.
He's shown that he can play. But if you're sitting on a gym in DJ Lagway, like, do you go ahead and throw him in the starting lineup? Do you have just a series by series thing, or he's in a very tough spot?
I guess I feel like, all right, so you're already on. We kind of assume you're already on a sinking ship, right?
Go down guns a blazing.
That's kind of my thought process is, and look, you would have to ask the coaching staff this, but I guess for me, it's which player do you think has the higher ceiling for your team this year? And if it's a situation where, okay, DJ Lagway's going to come with his lumps, like he's a freshman, he's going to make mistakes. He didn't look great against Miami when he got to come into that game.
Right.
But when you get to that month of November and you're having to play top 15 team back to back, do you not want the guy with the higher ceiling where maybe you're able to get one of those games and kind of surprise some people? And if you're in Billy Napier's spot, like, you want to show something that gives them hope that, maybe we give him another year, right? Like, I feel like that's kind of where you're at right now. So for me, I mean, I would go with Lagway. I think the ceiling for him is higher than what you have with Graham Mertz. But I can also understand in a game like this where maybe you don't need a superhuman effort from your quarterback. Maybe you feel like you can roll out the guy that's got more experience and the guy that's maybe not going to make the mistake that potentially turns the game. But I would go Lagway, personally.
Yeah.
But it's tough. I mean, it's not an easy decision.
It's not. And something that we talked about on Mac and Cube the other day, and I really started to see it because I have Sanford this weekend against Alabama State, 6 p.m. on ESPN Plus. And just going back watching Florida and Sanford, you can tell there is a big, big gap between Power 4 and FCS programs. Like, it's you have those moments, you have those anomalies every now and then where an FCS team can kind of sneak up on, some of these good teams. But the separation in the trenches, and even now a little bit even bigger gap in the skill position as well, that DJ Lagway didn't look rattled. Like, he didn't look like he was a freshman at any point. A lot of the throws that he was making, it's okay. Well, I'm looking at it from the Sanford perspective. You ain't gonna see another quarterback like this. You won't see the same kind of competition like you just saw last week. But it's okay now that I've seen it from DJ. It's okay. We may as well just go ahead and let the chips fall where they may. Like you said, he's a freshman, and we have Graham Mertz just in case. Like, he's probably the best break the glass emergency guy. Like, all right, big dog, you know exactly what to do. We feel comfortable with everything that we have on this play sheet. You just go out there and execute it because you are the guy. It's just he's kind of the guy right now.
Yeah, and you would hope that it wouldn't be a factor because, after this season, it's not really going to matter because Graham Mertz is going to go and then Lagway's going to be the guy. But again, we do live in a day and age where these kids look at things differently. And, you also don't want to end up in a situation where maybe he doesn't get to play a whole lot the rest of the season and he looks back and goes, man, I was pretty incredible against Sanford and you didn't play me that much the rest of the way. Okay, well, you just fired my coach, the coach that recruited me here. I'm gonna leave. Like, yep. Why would I stay here? I showed you what I got. I know it was against an FCS team, but I looked pretty good, didn't I? Okay, well, you still stuck with the other guy, and now the reason that I came here and the guy that recruited me, the staff that recruited me, they're gone. So why would I have any loyalty to And maybe that's not the case. Maybe he just truly loves Florida, and that's where he wants to be, and that's not even a factor. But unfortunately, with all of these situations, all of these teams, that's something that you have to consider. But yeah, I mean, I guess I just look at it as if you're Bill Napier and you're going down with the team potentially because it's not looking pretty this year. Go out guns blazing, man. Put the guy out there and see what you got. But I understand that it's it's easy for us to say that because, let's be honest, we want to see DJ Lagway. That's what we want to see. We want to see how that offense can look. But,
yeah,
we're not there at practice each and every day. And like you said, it's not like, Graham Mertz didn't throw 4 picks in the first week or something like that where you're like, we have to take this guy out. So it's interesting. But I will also say coming up in about 4 hours from now at 10:30 on Three Man Front, we're going to talk to David Whitley, who's a columnist for the Gainesville Sun. And he wrote an article where, if you've been listening to the shows for the past few weeks, we've talked about Billy Napier and $26 million buyout. It's a lot of money. And there was a belief that maybe Florida wouldn't want to pay that much to do it. But according to the guest we'll have on at 10:30, that is being taken care of as we speak.
Oh, boy.
So things may already be moving in Gainesville to potentially raise that money and be able to get him out of there if that's the route they ultimately want to go. So we'll have more on Billy Napier at 10:30. But
yeah, I mean, what's
just
at this point in college athletics? What's money? What's $26 million? Yeah, they're fine.
Yeah,
if you got it, go ahead. Then
somebody will write the check. It's more a question of getting the AD to pull the trigger because Scott Strickland probably going down with that sinking ship as well. Because
I was just about to say that you think they're going to.
He doesn't have a great track record as the football department goes. A lot of the other athletics teams doing pretty well, but football at the end of the day, that's what you're going to be judged on more than anything. So
yep,
we'll see. It'll be interesting one. It'll be interesting. 2:30.
It will be. Maybe who knows? Maybe Texas A&M. Maybe Texas A&M is back to normal. Maybe they're in the transitional phase of a new coach, of just truly flushing out everything that Jimbo brought in, and Mike Elko's just trying to build it up the right way. It's just gonna take a little bit of time, but who knows? 205-834-9450. We enjoy your texts, your calls, your reactions as well. Joseph texted in. He says, I do think if Napier wants to keep his job, save his job, he's going to have to go with DJ. He's the future of that program. If you're going to do it, might as well do it now. We've gotten him out there, thrown him into the fire. And again, I understand that it was Sanford on the other side, but you're at the confines of your home stadium, so he can kind of work it a little bit, but also it's not Sanford on the other side. It's Texas A&M. And I will say defensively, take this kind of with a grain of salt. Defensively, they're not terrible. They're not elite, but they're a pretty good defense.
Yeah, they're competent. Yeah.
Right. And goes back to the Notre Dame game, which kind of the 2-week sample size we've got in Notre Dame. Riley Leonard ain't that guy.
I was about to say, Riley Leonard just maybe isn't that good.
Yeah. So it's kind of a catch-22 on both sides of the coin for both Florida and Texas A&M. Of this is a game that could kind of change the direction for both teams moving forward. And I'm interested to see what it would look like for Florida in this situation, because again, we have that stain of what Miami was, but I think it's time to have the conversation that Miami is one of the best teams playing college football right now. They've got some juice. So it'll be interesting to see where these games look forward to, as far as both Texas A&M and LSU, Texas A&M and Florida rather, and of course LSU and South Carolina. As we have Casey who texts in and says, "Hey, LSU could get upset this week. I wouldn't sleep on South Carolina. Seems like upsets usually happen at Williams-Brice Stadium." And again, if South Carolina plays like they did last week, and LSU still has question marks defensively, because one thing about Rocket Sanders, he's still toting that thing, no matter what jersey he's in. And if LSU is still having issues, now I do think South Carolina's probably going to have to slow the game down a good bit because of what Garrett Nussmeier and that offense looks like. So it's just going to be a fun weekend now that we're getting into some conference matchups, but also just a whole calendar of what this weekend is going to look like. So let's buckle up and have some good times. 205-834-9450. Who should be on upset alert this weekend? We'll also take your calls as well. 205-834-9450. Keep it locked right here on Morning JOX and JOX 94.5. 6:34 here on Morning JOX. JOX 94.5. Damian Mitchell, Conrad Van Order, and you as well. 205-834-9450. Simple as that. You can text, you can call. As we are dealing with a little bit of wet weather down here in the South. Of course, is it tropical storm still? Is it still a tropical storm, Francine? Or has it upgraded to a hurricane? I believe it's still.
It's still tropical storm.
Still a tropical storm. But definitely some wet weather out there. So please be aware. And please be careful on the roadways. Roads are a little bit slicker and it's going to be a constant rain. So don't expect anything to lighten up anytime soon. But we will be weather aware and also aware of what's going on this weekend as far as college football. We asked who should be on upset alert. And we've gotten some reaction for sure. Christian from Fairview, he called it straight up. He says the Golden Eagles of Boston College going into Columbia, Missouri, and pulling out the dub will be the upset of the weekend. He's calling it right now. 24-point favorite, Missouri is right now. The number's kind of thick.
They're 24?
24-point favorite. Dog.
Oh, man. I thought they were a 17-point favorite. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I like Boston College to cover in that one probably. I think that's going to be a pretty good game. I think Missouri is the better team, definitely. But, I think it'll be a good test for them and a good measuring stick for Boston College as well. I mean, hey, if you win this game, if you're Boston College.
Yeah, my apologies. It is 16. It's 16.
Oh, okay,
it's
okay.
16. That's my fault.
No, you're good. You're good. I was just like, oh, something changed. Like, what happened? Boston College quarterback tear ACL in practice or something? So that's gonna be a good game, though. I'm looking forward to it, and I mean, maybe it'll be like that early Kansas State game last year. Early non-conference game against a ranked opponent. You don't have thicker kicker, but maybe have some fireworks there at the end. Another 60-yard field goal as Eli Drinkwitz tries to mismanage the clock and lose the game for his team.
Hey, I've seen that. I've seen that film.
Yeah.
I've seen that tape.
Yeah.
Oh boy, hey. Chad from Haleyville, he says that Oregon, watch out, Oregon State on the upset. I mean, from Oregon the past 2 weeks.
I mean, they haven't looked good against the FCS or the Group of Five, so we'll see how they do against the Power Four. Oh, yeah, so did you see, you brought up Oregon State. So this news came out last night.
Are you talking about the Pac-2 news?
Yeah, the Pac-2 that's trying to become the Pac-12 again, I guess. So if you missed this news overnight, Ross Dellinger, who works for Sports Illustrated and covers college football there for them in Yahoo Sports, he says, or he reported, the Pac-12 is targeting multiple Mountain West programs to join Oregon State and Washington State, including Boise, Fresno State, San Diego State, and Colorado State.
There we go.
So we're trying to bring it back, I guess.
At this point, you probably should have reached out. I'd say probably 3 or 4 years ago, but it's never too late. Obviously, it's never too late.
Yeah.
So let's go, Pac-2. Like you're getting there. You're sending out the invites.
Yeah, I just got used to saying Power 4 instead of Power 5. Now we're gonna have to go back to saying it. Just too much. Just leave it where it is. It's fine. Just let the Pac-2 be the Pac-2. It's kind of funny.
It is. And I'm here for it. Oh, Gavin says, he says the Kentucky and Georgia matchup should be a blowout, but Kirby is 1-8 against the spread heading into a bye week. Just saying. Gavin's he's a real player.
Maybe a look ahead to Alabama in a couple weeks.
Maybe so. But I still don't think Kentucky's good enough to catch them slipping like that.
What I've seen through the first 2 weeks, I don't think Kentucky's super good this year. So,
nope. So when we gonna start having a discussion about Mark Stoops? Maybe it might be later on in the season. Everybody's talking about Billy Napier. I think I wonder how much his buyout is because he's been stealing money for the past however many years.
I don't think he can be fired. He has a lifetime contract.
Might need to go back and what they say, restructure that one. We shall see. 205-834-9450. Should Auburn be on upset alert because they do have another team from New Mexico. It's just the Lobos, not the Aggies this time. Let's go to War Dam Don and talk some ball this morning. Don, what's going on?
What's up, guys?
Hey, ain't no complaining this way, brother. What's going on?
Hey, we're gonna bounce back, Damien. We're gonna cover that 28 points, buddy.
Let's go. I hope so.
Okay.
I hope so.
But hey, Conrad, real quick. I know you guys were having fun with that simulation game yesterday. everything. They did that
Oh,
in
yeah.
summertime. I don't know if you got my text or not, but to tell you how stupid that was, and Damien, you'll get a kick out of this. They had the Auburn Missouri game, and they had us beating Missouri 63-28 with Peyton Thorne throwing for 496 yards and 6 touchdowns.
Oh yeah, that's lunacy.
Yeah, the one we had
Yeah,
yesterday was a little bit different, but no, I mean those things are, it's a video game. It is what it is.
Right, they got Alabama beating
Yeah.
Tennessee on third Saturday in October too. So
And then they actually had Auburn upset in Georgia in Georgia too with a late
now I
field
know
goal.
that's a video game.
That's my point, buddy. Everything, but hey, I'm hearing this now. We're going to try to slow the game down and everything, and I'm hearing we're going back to the offense which we did last year with the RPO, and gonna feed the beast, gonna feed 27 all day long.
Hey man, you are dialed in on the offensive scheme, man. Did they just send you the PDF of the playbook this week or something, man? How you know all this information?
Well, it's called reading about Auburn for 10 hours a day on my phone.
There we go.
Hey, you know me, I live and die my Auburn Tigers, buddy.
Yeah, so okay then, with you saying that they're going to slow the game down and run the ball, that means they're going back to the Gus Malzahn. So you're basically saying that y'all running Gus Malzahn's offense on Saturday.
Well, I got in trouble with that yesterday. I'm not mentioning Malzahn with you no more.
As you should have.
And hey, and shout out to Hastings for correcting me yesterday. Thank you, Hastings.
He's a Bama guy too. Think about that.
I know that. No, I've met Hastings a couple of times. Hastings is a good man.
Absolutely.
And by the way, I want to talk about the Florida A&M game. And PG, if you're listening out there, buddy, chop, buddy, I'm pulling for you this weekend. But I think they need to start that freshman too, guys. I really do.
He looked good last week, man. There's
he was. Well, hey, maybe I'll see me a redshirt freshman Saturday. Maybe I'll see me some Hank down Saturday. Hopefully.
I would be surprised if you don't see him at least at some point, whether it's because the game's not going great or because the game's going very well and there's an opportunity to put him in there. So we'll see.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you think they should let him play a little early in the game when the game is in doubt?
I mean, if you go out there and either Peyton Thorne's turning the ball over or the offense is stagnant and if you're not moving the ball down the field early, then yeah, I think you put him in there and try to mix it up. But, I think we all know and expect Peyton Thorne's going to start. And if, the offense is working, I think you're going to leave him in there because let's be honest, he needs as many game reps too right now as he can get. So, but yeah, I mean, if the offense is not moving the ball down the field, Don, I think he's going to have a very short leash on Saturday.
Well, there ain't no doubt about that. And another update too. Sounds like Cam Coleman's not going to play, so you're probably going to see a lot of our other 5-star kid, Perry Thompson. I mean, I'd like to see Perry get a lot of work this week.
Yeah, just got to find a quarterback to give him the ball, man. That's all you got to do.
Well, hey, by the way, fellas, I told you this the other day. I think I need to concede that 30 touchdown bet. So whenever y'all want y'all's lunch at Twin Peaks is on me like a promise.
Gotcha. Trust me, I quoted you as soon as you made the deal. There was no backing out of it. There was nothing we could do to go back and nullify that contract. Yeah, we dialed in on that one, big dog.
Well, I know. Hey, I'm a man of my word, buddy. I'll take care of both of you.
To your credit, Don, after the first game, I mean, he was on pace for 60 total touchdowns this year.
No. Isn't that crazy? Maybe he might throw 5 more Saturday. Who knows?
Maybe so.
Maybe so. Got to be early because he'll be out of there rather quickly. We appreciate you, Don. Let's go to Mad Dog. Wants to talk some ball with us this morning. What's going on this morning, Mad Dog?
What is up, fellas?
Hey, ain't no complaining this way, brother. How we feeling?
Besides having to work and it raining, I'm good.
There we go. What you want to talk about this morning, man?
We talked about Thorne and we talked about the quarterback situation. I want to talk about the other side of the ball because I haven't seen any great pass rush or great secondary work out of them either. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and to me, I go back and when I went back and watched Cal game, Mendoza was playing out of his mind. Like he didn't feel that he didn't feel rushed. He didn't feel threatened. He didn't really feel like he was uncomfortable at any point during the game. It felt like he was locked in, made the throws where he needed to. And to your point, for a lot of these guys on the DJ Durkin's defensive staff, he was very high on them about how deep that they were. But he's still probably searching for his best 11, to be honest. We know what we're getting from Eugene Asante and Kerryon Crawford. But everything else is kind of just still kind of, I guess you'd say, up for question.
I will say Keldrick Falk played out of his freaking mind
for
on
sure.
Saturday. Like that is a dude that you have right there. So, I mean, that was, I would say, out of everything you took away from Auburn on Saturday, that was the brightest spot was Keldrick Falk. He was awesome.
Right. But like I said, that wasn't an SEC team. That was it was a good team, but I was a little concerned with the defensive play.
Yeah, and I think it's a long season too, and if Cal is I guess you'd say the foundation of how bad it could be, you're going to face better offenses here in the next couple of weeks. You got Arkansas coming in, you got Oklahoma. I know they've had some highs and lows, but if they all of a sudden start clicking, I mean, you still got Georgia on that schedule, Missouri. Like you got to figure this thing out rather quickly.
No doubt. Well, I appreciate you taking my call.
Absolutely. Anytime, Mad Dog. You know where to find us, brother. 205-834-9450. We see your text message and take your calls as well on the other side. 205-834-9450. Keep it locked right here on Morning JOX and JOX 94.5. 6:50 here on Morning JOX, JOX 94.5, Damian Mitchell, Conrad Van Order, and of course, our wonderful listeners, 205-834-9450. We appreciate everybody texting in, calling in, having some fun. I was telling Conrad during the break, man, it's always a humbling, time when we see y'all up this early in the morning, having some fun, ready to talk ball. Hopefully we get your blood pressure up and going. Like we're your little dash of coffee in the mornings, just getting you set because we were talking about the game simulations, and you heard Antoine text in and it was like, Damien, don't think I ain't hear that little plug of saying Alabama's gonna beat Tennessee in the third Saturday in October.
Yeah, we were just gonna let that one go.
Yeah, I saw the same. I saw the same simulation. I think Nico had like 2 bad interceptions in the fourth quarter. I was like, hey, from what I've seen in Nico, I don't think that's gonna happen. But
he had 2 picks against NC State. You think he's just gonna welcome in Alabama? Come on, man. Come on. You're wearing an Alabama shirt yesterday.
I was indeed. But that was yesterday. Yesterday is over. It's a different day. That's what Eminem said. 205-834-9450. You like the way I just sprinkled that one in there.
I think the quote was actually more same something different day, but
oh man, people are sending in their upsets, and we had somebody texting and brought up a great point. He said the upset I can't believe that they're even favored that I see happening is Florida State. With what DJU has done, Memphis should actually be favored. You ain't gonna hear no pushback from me because that's one I think I agree with you 100%. I think the wrong team is favored. I really do. And the fact they're probably at home, you're getting that home cooking a little bit, but I would lean Memphis to really pull off this upset. Now I feel pretty strong about this one.
Yeah, it's one of those, to be completely honest with you, I didn't even I haven't even looked at the line. In my mind, it's not even an upset. It's just I think Memphis is the better football team, and it would be. I do not mean this as a joke. This would be a very good win for Florida State if they were able to get it. But Memphis they're good, and I expect them to go in there and handle their business. And if they win this game, I mean they are the I would say the clear favorite right now to be that group of 5 team in the college football playoff. And, Boise's kind of right behind them with how they looked against Oregon last week. Granted, Oregon hasn't looked great, but yeah, a lot of people aren't going to be on Memphis this weekend for sure.
No, I agree with you. And I think that when you look at some of these matchups just on Saturday, I mean, West Virginia hits the road against Pitt. West Virginia is the 2-point favorite in that game. And I forgot Troy is taking the trip up to Iowa this weekend, and
Iowa coming off that loss.
Yeah, and
they're going to be punting with fury and anger this week.
All off season long, we were hearing, oh yeah, they're about to be a new look offense. Cade McNamara had 99 yards passing last week.
Hey, they put up 40 in the first week.
Yeah, they did.
But then, yeah, they played a real team in Iowa State.
Exactly.
We saw what happened in Iowa State's not particularly great this year. So
no, it's not. And how about Notre Dame? See if they can get that bad taste out of their mouth. They opened up as a 10-point favorite against Purdue. And, I mean, Northern Illinois, a lot of respect to that team and the way that they beat up Notre Dame. Yeah. And I didn't expect it. Like, I really did not expect this to happen. I don't really think a lot of people did, but for Notre Dame to go down to Texas A&M, go down to College Station, win that ball game, and then to come back at home and look like it was very similar to Michigan versus Fresno State. There's not much separation of the teams I'm watching right now. Northern Illinois is just fighting their ass off. Like, they're just playing ball. Like, we have nothing to lose at this point. And they weren't afraid. They were not afraid of Notre Dame. And for Notre Dame to take that hit in the mouth and to take that gut punch, it really does make Marcus Freeman have to do some soul searching on the program that he has right now, because that's a loss you just cannot take, no matter how you slice it up. You just cannot afford a loss to that magnitude to a Northern Illinois team and expect to have playoff implications along the way.
Well, it was the same thing as last year, if I'm not. Because they played week 1, like they played early last year with Ohio State, right? And they played kind of a close game, and if I'm remembering this correctly, and they played kind of a close game, and you thought, okay, maybe Notre Dame has something here, but then they lost to Marshall early in the season last year, and it's the same thing this year. All right, you got a good win. We were all ready to go, hey, Kyle Field, that's a tough place to go and play and win a football game, as we know here in the SEC. this cannot be the Marcus Freeman experience at Notre Dame, right? Like you have to, and I know you don't have an opportunity really this year because you just lost to NIU, but yeah, like you were saying, you cannot lose these games and be taken seriously as a legitimate contender, not only to make the playoff, but to go in and make noise in the playoff. And this is now, we talk about the transfer portal a lot. This is now back-to-back years. You went out and got a big-name quarterback, and you've kind of missed on them. So
Yep.
we'll see what it looks like the rest of the way.
Man, Golden Domer called in yesterday to Mac and Cube, and he was like, Marcus Freeman didn't have the resume to be the head coach anyway. Guess one of the first names that came out of his mouth of who could replace him?
Bill O'Brien.
Clark Lee.